Hi, on this edition of Suffolk Scrapbook, we will be touring the Suffolk Center for Cultural Arts, formerly the Suffolk High School. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. Today we are joined with Betsy Brothers, one of the many people responsible for turning the old high school into the Cultural Arts Center. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the history of the building?
Sure. The building was built in the early 20s, the first class in 1922. Prior to that, Jefferson School was a high school. Anyway, it survived for 68 years and it closed to students in 1990. After having about 3 different tries at a group of people to restore it, they finally set up a task force. They asked me to chair it. And so, with a great deal of reluctance, I took on the job. One thing I would say about the success of this, and we think it's quite beautiful, by the way.
It is.
We sold this project through naming opportunities, and we tried to put the focus on the quality of life for Suffolk. We didn't have an art center that was large, that we could do all the things with the theater and everything that we could do with this building and the space that it provided. So we went for it. Took us right many years, and in September of 1998 was our first meeting, and it was quite a joy. And I think there were 3 reasons we had such a phenomenal success. First reason was the public-private relationship. We had a city manager, downtown Suffolk, director, different people and council people with great vision. When we started this, a great deal of what you see on Main Street was boarded up. So this was a huge opportunity to do something spectacular, to kick in the preservation movement, to save our architectural history in Suffolk. As we used to say, why do you go on vacation to historic places? You look at the architecture, you hear the history, and that's what this project was all about. It was a beloved school. I graduated from here in 1958.
Oh, wow, great.
So I had the joy of being one of these students. But it was, in those days, it was the center of Suffolk. We didn't have lots of other places, so when we had anything that required a theater, it was at Suffolk High School. We had lots and lots of dances and just great joy here. It was just a privilege to go to school here.
Well, it's a beautiful building. Do you mind if we go inside and take a look?
No, let's do that.
Okay. Oh, I noticed that this area has a special name, Stairway to Knowledge. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, the names that you see engraved on the steps, of course, as you can see, are granite, and those names are all of very special people who taught at Suffolk High School. Perhaps they were on the school board or school administrators, but they're very special people. They were an enormous influence on the educational system in Suffolk High School.
Right. Ready to go up?
Let's do.
Well, now that we're inside, what can you tell us about this area of the center?
Well, this is Pruden Parlor, Pruden Hall and Parlor, and the other room is also part of the Pruden Parlors. These rooms are used for receptions and all sorts of parties and gatherings, and I think one thing that's important to point out about the success of the overall project is, for instance, I said this is Pruden Parlor. People in Suffolk, and really outside of Suffolk, people who used to live here, we're just standing here simply because of their generosity. It was overwhelming, the millions of dollars we got. If you notice, as we walk through the building, there are just names everywhere, and that's just a tiny way to say thank you to all the people who made this beautiful place possible. And then on either side, you'll see the art galleries. Now, I want to point out, when I was in school here, this was a library. You see this granite down on the floor?
Yes.
That was a wall. In order to get some over $8 million in preservation credits, we had to do certain things. If there had been a wall, then we had to do something to signify that that wall no longer is standing. So that's why you see this. All these floors are original. All of this is original. Of course, you'll see out here our beautiful donor walls, but the brickwork, all of this is original. And so we were really proud that we could keep that. And the windows are original. They were all reworked and renovated. So much of what you see in the building is the way it has been since 1922 when the doors opened.
What would you like to show us next?
Well, would you like to go to the B&T Gallery?
Absolutely.
All right.
So this was once the library, and now it's a gallery space.
That's right. It was the library, but having this wonderful gallery space allows us to celebrate community in so many ways. You can see right now we have this portrait of Mr. Oversea. Most of us know he was the founder of Planters Peanuts. And throughout this gallery and also in the other gallery, we're celebrating 100 years of Planters Peanuts. We have changing exhibits in here. So we do wonderful things in this lovely space. And again, so much of this is original. So that's nice to notice.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Well, do you want to go and just have a glimpse of the second gallery?
Sure.
Okay. This room used to be the principal's office, and I'm glad to tell you I never had to come here to see the principal. Lots of my friends did, though. Now, as you can see, this is another gallery. It's a Norfolk Foundation gallery, and the exhibit continues in here, celebrating 100 years of Planters Peanuts. Right. Incredible memorabilia and collector's items are displayed beautifully. So I would encourage people to come and see this. You'll learn a lot about Suffolk and Mr. Oversea.
And tell us a little bit about Mr. Oversea and Suffolk.
Well, he came here in the, I think around 1920, I believe that's correct. And he came here because Suffolk had a great workforce for his peanut factory, and also it had the sandy soil to grow these incredible Virginia peanuts. And then he encouraged the Birdsong family to bring their shelling factory here. So, of course, Birdsong's is still here. Planters Peanuts today is owned by Kraft, but during my young years, Mr. Oversea was a huge influence in everything Suffolk. And as you might note, still to this day, this time of the year, you have that wonderful aroma of peanuts cooking. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's a saying, I'm born in peanut bread, and when I die, I'll be peanut fed. A lot of that is because of Mr. Oversea.
Great. Well, what's next on the tour?
Let's go have a look at the theater.
Okay.
All right.
So now we're in the Birdsong Theater.
That's right. This is a Birdsong Theater. It has been renovated beautifully. We have 530 seats, I believe. You'll see little brass plaques on them. So again, people gave money to refurbish. These were the original seats, so we were able to keep them. This theater has always had incredible acoustics from the get-go, so we were fortunate in that. Our stage has a fly loft above it. That was a huge decision, but we decided to do that. And I believe you mentioned to me you were here for Peter Pan,
yes. Mm-hmm.
And you saw Peter Pan flying.
Right. It was
Had
amazing.
we not done the fly loft, that would have been impossible. So we're glad we could raise the monies to do that. We've had so many fantastic events here. Things that we bring in from other states, from all over, but also lots of local things that we can showcase here, and it's really been successful. And we're real proud of our theater.
So even though there's over 500 seats, it's a very intimate setting, and
Exactly.
so there really is no bad seat.
Exactly, and you hear people say that all the time.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very nice environment, I think.
All right, what's next?
Okay, how about if we go and check out the historic classroom?
That sounds good.
All right.
So now this room is set up as if it was a classroom.
Yes, in a 1920s classroom. Believe it or not, when I was here in the 50s, we had some of these desks still. If you'll notice the murals around the wall, these represent schools from Nansemond County, the old county, as well as downtown Suffolk schools. So we were trying to showcase schools in what is now the city of Suffolk. You'll notice the chalkboards. You'll see chalkboards in many, many classrooms. Just everything you see in here, except the ceiling with a little bit of modern HVAC, this is exactly the way it was and has been since it was built. So the floors are all original. EMAM maps are from the time in the 1920s. So this is a celebration of how school used to be.
It's like stepping back in time.
Exactly. And we think it's quite charming.
It is. Right, now that we've seen the classroom of the past, I understand that there are classrooms now that people can learn photography, art, sewing, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Would you like to go upstairs and we can see some of those?
Sure.
All right. Well, this is our weaving studio. As you can see, there are looms everywhere, and today they're covered up to keep all the wool and so forth clean. But Mary Scott is our resident instructor. Mary was the weaver at Mount Vernon for years.
Oh, interesting.
And I do believe that she raises her sheep and shears wool and does everything. So it's pretty amazing. And she's had lots and lots of students through these few years we've been open.
So are there any more art studios you'd like to show us?
There are some more, and one's right next door.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Okay, now we're in another studio.
Yes, this would have been one of our typical classrooms. I really don't remember whether it was a math classroom or language arts, perhaps. Now, as you can see, it's used as a studio for art. Different mediums are taught here. And the same wonderful windows that we allow the light in for the art this day and time. But way back then, we had open windows because, of course, we didn't have heat or air.
And about how long was a typical class?
I think probably 50, 55 minutes with a little break in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does one go about signing up for a class or finding out information?
Well, going to our website, the Suffolk Center for Cultural Arts website, is always a good way. But if someone would like to come down and talk to staff, most of the staff is on the 3rd floor, and they can come up here and get information as well.
So it's a great place for the community to come and learn a skill.
It is. And, you know, so many different art forms are taught here,
Right.
whether it's dance, pottery, photography, art. Yeah.
I know I've taken a couple of dance and photography classes.
Good.
They're really educational.
Good. That's what we want to hear. All right. We'll go check out another part of the building.
Okay. What is this room used for now?
Right now, this is a pottery studio, and from what I hear, this is one of our most successful classes. Lots of students, so you have to sign up early. I also hear that over 200 classes were offered last year. all these different levels, whether it's dance, pottery, painting, photography, and so on. And one of the major things that the staff tries to do down here is to incorporate lots of educational learning opportunities with school-age children, whether it be homeschoolers, public schools, private schools. They had over 10,000 kids here. And we're so fortunate to have different companies and organizations sponsor and make it possible to have these things, because a lot of these programs are pretty costly, and the local public and our businesses have been just wonderful.
So it's a great asset for the community.
It is. It really is. And a lot of these classes also teach to the SOLs, and so that's a plus.
It's wonderful.
I think so.
I see some wonderful memorabilia pieces from the high school.
Yeah, and they're from some different high schools in Suffolk. This does showcase the different schools in the county that used to be the county, as well as Suffolk High School. People have been so gracious and given us so many things. This area is Yates Lobby. We use this for receptions and different gatherings. When we have big events, we have people behind here. And so this room is used a lot. And you'll see down this way, we even have some things that honor the Nansemond Indians,
right,
which were the people here long before we were, as you know. So this is really a lovely space. Something that's kind of interesting back in here, when this was Suffolk High School, that was the boiler room. So you're talking about the greatest transformation. This area is the greatest transformation because it was really a mess. So anyway, now it's quite lovely.
I see behind us there's a gift shop.
It is.
Can we go in?
Surely. The name is Jester's, and it's beautiful.
Okay, looking around, I see a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces of artwork, and it's all for sale, correct?
It is all for sale, and primarily the artisans in here from Virginia and North Carolina, as well as other states throughout the country. But I think the whole object is it's one of a kind, handmade by artisans, and that's pretty unusual. And we have such a variety, whether they're paintings or pottery. You can see different types of felt work and just beautiful things, paper mache things, I believe, and all kinds of children's gifts, something for pretty much anyone. But I'm very partial, but I think probably Jester's is the prettiest gift shop anywhere around. I can't think of a place that has more beautiful things to offer.
And what are the hours of Jester's?
I believe they're Tuesday through Friday, 11 till 5, and they're open also on Saturday, 11 till 4. And it's just a great place to shop. We have such trained staff, and they're so much fun to work with, so I hope everybody will come.
I'm sure. Now let's go to the restaurant.
Let's do.
Today, this is a Mosaic restaurant, but when it was a high school, it was more classrooms, correct?
That's right. In fact, this area right in here was my 7th grade classroom, so I have happy memories here. And right down where the kitchen and all is, and the storage area for the restaurant, that was the home economics department when I was in school here, and I think for quite some time. This restaurant is quite beautiful, I think.
It is.
And one attraction is this gorgeous artwork and glasswork done by 2 Suffolk artisans, glass artists, and a gift to the center, and very much a gift of love, as you can imagine what went into this. So we're very proud of it. And for anybody who has a chance to come in here and really look at it, every panel tells a story about either Suffolk High School or about the Cultural Center. So it's quite a happy thing, I think.
I agree. Now, I understand there's one more area you'd like to show us.
Yes, we have a mural, and then Taylor Hall, which is our hall now for dances and receptions, and that was our old gymnasium.
Okay.
But so let's
Let's
go
go.
down and look.
Before we go in, can you tell us a little bit about Taylor Hall?
Yes, Taylor Hall is where our old gymnasium was, and now it's our ballroom reception area. It's a beautiful space, and our very first gift was from Garland and the Gray Foundation. Elman Gray made that possible, so that kick-started the whole project, which was quite significant for us. And on the way in, you'll see this beautiful mural in Hobbs' reception room. And the mural was done by Chip Wilkerson, who graduated from Suffolk High School, I believe 1970, and it tells the story of Suffolk. So shall we go in and check it all out?
This beautiful mural tells the history of Suffolk, correct?
It does. We had so many committees working on this renovation adaptive reuse project. One of them was a mural committee. We met many times, and we finally came up with the idea telling the story of Suffolk, starting in 1608 with John Smith, the Nansemond Indians. Then as you go on along, you see different things. This is a dismal swamp, on to the Pembroke House in Chuckatuck, the Nansemond County Courthouse, Riddick's Folly, and on and on. It shows the river, which was just the heart of Suffolk, and then, of course, the peanut industry, all of our original churches, and just on and on. And as we go through the mural, you'll see the Hilton Garden Inn is the very last thing, and that was sort of, once we got all these different preservation projects accomplished in the hotel. So hopefully we'll have more to add to it one of these years. But one thing that makes it special is that our Suffolk artist did it. He doesn't live here now, but he went to school here and graduated here, and he's a wonderful mural artist.
Okay. What a wonderful space.
Isn't it though? This was our old gymnasium. And as you can see, a lot of it's original. All of these railings are original. We had to put these in because of code. We laughed and said all the years that we knew it was a school, nobody fell over and broke their necks, but modern day we have to have all this. So that's a good thing. You'll see the windows were in here originally, and this is where we had PE, and all of our basketball games were played here. And you'll notice we have a screen down there. We have lots of corporate meetings in here, and so therefore the need of the screen. There are all sorts of fundraisers in here, receptions, wedding rehearsal, dinners, and wedding receptions, and dances, and all sorts of things. So this Taylor Hall has really been used and enjoyed a lot. I think that, you know, with the lighting, with the space, there's a catering-style kitchen over there. The elevator comes down, so it's accessible for anybody. And it has been just a wonderful thing to have.
Now, if someone is interested in renting this area or any other area in this center, how does one go about doing that?
I would suggest that they call down here to the Cultural Center, and they can ask to speak to the person in charge of the rentals, and they can give them all the information about the times that these areas are available, the cost, and also people rent both galleries, the parlors, so there are lots of places that you can rent other than just the ballroom, and whether it be a corporate office, you know, meeting, or a social event. And lots of garden clubs and different organizations rent the parlors upstairs in those areas. So, you know, whether it's something for 20 people or 220 people, we can pretty well accommodate it here. And something I forgot to mention, I mentioned the screen we have here. Up in the theater, we have a huge screen where we show movies from time to time, but also for special events, you can do videos and all sorts of wonderful things on that screen in the auditorium. So there are lots and lots of ways to use the facility.
That's wonderful.
Yes, it is. We're very proud of it.
I bet. I see you're holding a book.
I am. It's The Heart of Suffolk, and it tells all about this project and this massive renovation, and it has great information in it. And I'd love to give you a copy if you'd like it.
Well, thank you so much.
And so I hope you'll enjoy reading it and learning all about our project. It has lots of information. And this beautiful walkway, and you'll see all these bricks, and we sold bricks, hundreds of bricks, and we just thought it made a great walkway going into this building with the gardens and all. These were playgrounds, so this has changed considerably.
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful tour.
You're so welcome.
And we hope that our viewers will come and take advantage of the many opportunities the Suffolk Center for Cultural Art offers.
I hope so. We think it's a great place to visit and a happy place to be, and you can learn a lot. So thank you for having us and showcasing this beautiful project.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of Suffolk Scrapbook. We'll see you next time.